Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another Watson Graduate School of Management video highlight. I'm here today with Alex Lobman. Alex, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us. And I was curious, as you're a recent alum of the Business Analytics program through the Spear School of Business, and you've already started on your career that's launched. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so out of the program, I got a internship with a clearinghouse in Tulsa. So a clearinghouse is an intermediary between doctors and insurance companies. And so prior to graduation, I had a job lined up, which was really exciting. And so now I'm a full-time data scientist at Infinity LLC, which is the clearinghouse in Tulsa.
Fantastic. Nice to see you moving forward with that. And we know you've got great potential going into your future. One of the reasons why I asked you to conduct this interview is I've seen you with your momentum in the program start to emerge quite a bit last fall and probably earlier than that. But I saw you on one of the finalist teams for the internal case competition. I know that you were on the second place team at the University of Iowa Business Analytics competition, which is a significant honor. And then I also noted that your presentation, your team presentation at the 2019 SAS Global Forum in Dallas took first place. So congratulations for all that activity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it was really exciting. All the different competitions we got to compete during the program, and really it was a real privilege to try and put data science skills into a practical purpose.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the competitions. Yeah.
So tell me about the experience that you kind of gleaned by working in teams through all of those competitions and how that impacted or changed your preparedness for the job.
Yeah, I think working in teams is awesome. Luckily for all of these different competitions, I don't think any of my teammates overlapped, which was really nice. I got to work with MBA students. I got to work with a lot of students from my program. Students who had very different backgrounds from myself, students who had engineering backgrounds or were from India or from Vietnam or other international communities. So it was really interesting. You know, the great thing about teamwork is knowing or learning what everyone else thinks about a problem and how they think about approaching it. And I think I really gained a lot working with them and learning what they had to say and you know, some of the things that I'm not as good at, you know, preparing presentations visually on PowerPoint is not one of my strong points. And so having people on my team that were very good at that was also really nice to learn from them.
Well, you definitely did something right, because I also recognize the fact that you were selected as tied for first place, one of the outstanding business analytics students for spring 2019. And that was announced at the SAS Analytics Day here not long ago at Oklahoma State University. So just an amazing series of accomplishments. We're so proud to see you go through that process and be recognized for your hard work. One of the things I wanted to ask you in particular about the SAS Global Forum case competition, I know that your team competed against 40 different teams. There were 8 finalists, and you came in first place, as you said before. Tell us a little bit about what your project covered.
Yeah, so the idea behind the project, well, first I'll go over the competition really briefly, which is that the competition was to take an open source data set and come up with some sort of application that either is useful in a business context or in a good for humanity context. And I think the most important step for this competition in particular was that we really had to think about what we wanted to do, because there's so many open source data sets, or you know, so many. You can take it in any direction. You could go for healthcare, you could go in finance, you could go in, you know, any domain you wanted. I think what my teammates and I agreed upon after a lot of discussion was that one of the real issues facing the United States today is political polarization and the inability to converse with people who have a different political opinion and communicate with them in a way that's effective and respectful. So our project was to try and determine bias of a news article. for a couple reasons. The first was, well, I guess the main reason was because we wanted to make sure that people weren't getting trapped in some sort of online echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, if I just keep clicking on sites that go to one political party or the other, based on the fact that I just keep seeing the same opinion over and over again with different sources, that can increase my confidence in that particular opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And the other reason is that we've seen a crop up of websites that maybe are less credible and people going into alternative news. And one of the problems with this, when people don't trust major news sites, is that people need to have shared common facts or common knowledge to even discuss an issue. So one of the things we brought up is that, if you talk to somebody about global warming and one person believes in global warming and the other person doesn't, there's no middle ground to discuss anything. And you can think of it in just ways where it's helpful if people have some things in common, so that at least there's some place where you can start a conversation. So those were two of the major issues that we were thinking about. So the strategy behind the project was, or the main problem was, why would anyone trust a data scientist to figure out whether or not a news article is biased without themselves being biased? So in other words, if I think a certain way and I think that belongs with Republican, it might be tricky for me to separate out my own bias. So the insight was that we would have to find sources that were not, that had bias and had universally known bias. Mm-hmm. And to do that, we used congressional speeches. So Republican congressional speeches were assumed to have Republican bias, whereas Democrat congressional speeches were assumed to have Democrat bias. So those speeches, we then used a text analytic model to try and figure out which party a speech belonged to, which it could do with over 90% accuracy. And then we validated the model using media articles finally, which was the main goal. So we got articles from the Huffington Post and from Breitbart because both the audiences of these websites are particularly polarized, but also because Andrew Breitbart specifically said when he founded Breitbart.com, that he's a co-founder of both of these websites, that he wanted it to be the Huffington Post, but on the right, which indicates that not only are the audience of these sites biased, but in particular, they may have been designed that way, or at least that's what Andrew Breitbart seemed to be hinting at. So, and when we use our model on congressional speeches on the Huffington Post and on Breitbart, we get the result that we would expect. So we expect Breitbart to score as Republican. It does about 80% of the time, whereas Huffington Post also scores Democrat about 80% of the time. So that was the gist of our project. I've shortened down a lot of
yeah. Well, congratulations again on the first place. I know that as you were doing the poster presentation at the SAS Analytics Day, one of the individuals hearing your team describe this project worked in the media, and she found this to be very fascinating. So I can see how you captured the attention of everyone that was judging this competition. So again, great work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so last but not least, I'm just kind of curious, there are second year students that may have seen you, they're gonna enter in this fall into their second year, and they've seen you kind of rise to all of this success in the program. And just from your personal perspective, what would be your advice for them in terms of getting close to or surpassing what you accomplished?
Yeah, well, I don't think it's necessarily a competition between us. The program has so many outstanding students. They're getting jobs all over the place, Walmart, SAS. I mean, really, there's the quality of students is very high. I think for the case of these competitions, which is where I did very well, my strategy overall was to always try and figure out why I'm telling somebody a particular slide. So each piece of the slide, each slide topic should tell a narrative, and that narrative should be important or relevant to the person. So I think oftentimes when we see, and I saw with competition, people will explain methodology, or they'll explain things, other models they didn't actually use. And these things, I think, tend to take away from the story. My general assumption is that people will think that we either did things right or not. Whether I put on the slide that I did X model or Y model is not going to change that impression. And certainly question and answers are a great time for that. But I think what made my performance consistent was that I made sure that every slide had a purpose and had a purpose of building a narrative.
Very good. Yeah. Excellent advice. So we appreciate that insight, and I'm sure that anyone paying attention can apply that, and I think that will help. And wish you well. Stay in touch as an alum, and take care.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.